And a very happy afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Tim Burgess back with Think and Grow Rich. And today we want to talk about the chapter on the brain. Now, we've all kind of heard whatever we send out comes back tenfold, right? Well, how do I send it out? And how does it come back? You see, I didn't understand that. I mean, it sounded like one of those really, really good sayings that I should live by. So I don't want to send out negative, because if negative is going to come back tenfold, I certainly don't want to carry that weight with me. And I didn't really understand it until I started really studying this chapter. And I want to simplify this chapter. We're probably not going to go into the book much at all. It is such an easy concept for us to understand using the proper metaphor. So if you think about a radio station sends out and it receives. It sends a signal out through a transmitter and receives a signal back in through a receiver. Well, see, you and I have that same thing, and it's called the human brain. Napoleon says it's a broadcasting and receiving station for thought. Now, I didn't realize or understand that as I was thinking something maybe about somebody. If it's a negative thought about that person, I'm sending it out, which means it has to come back tenfold. Uh-oh. Remember in the last video that we had done on the subconscious mind, we talked about do unto others. And now the brain is a broadcasting and receiving station for thought. And I said we should take that to a next step and think unto others as we wish to be thought about, right? And the brain is a broadcasting and receiving station for thought. So it becomes very important that you and I, we become very aware of the dominating thoughts in the mind. Because remember, the thought causes a feeling. That feeling is what's being sent out. Okay, so really, to simplify this down to where anybody can understand it, I want you to think of a radio station. And think if you like listening to, say, 102.7 on the FM dial. So you dial into 102.7 and you get to listen to either the podcast, the talk show, or the music that you want to listen to. And it's broadcasting out, it's transmitting on a frequency of 102.7. Well, the only way that you could listen to that podcast is to dial your receiver, your radio, into 102.7. They're broadcasting out on 102.7. You have your receiver set to receive at 102.7. So they're broadcasting out. You have your receiver set to receive. And the only way you can receive their broadcast is to be set on the exact frequency of 102.7 that they are broadcasting on. That's the only way you could possibly receive it. Now, if you set your radio to, let's say, 102.5 or 102.9, you won't get your podcast or your music. You will not get what you're looking for. It might be scrambled, it might be garbled, it might be real fuzzy. You might get a couple of sentences here or part of a song here, but you won't get an uninterrupted flow from the 102.7 transmission if you are receiving at 102.9 or 102.5. I mean, this just makes good common sense. I know it does to you. I know you can easily understand what I'm talking about. If we wish to receive what's being broadcast out on 102.7, then we have to be exactly on 102.7. The brain is both a broadcasting and receiving set of machinery, our brain. That's what it does. So, if we want the good to come into our life, if we want to receive the positive thought process, or we want to receive the feel good, then we have to send that feel good out, which means we have to be in a constant positive state of mind. Now, I'm not saying I'm perfect at this, ladies and gentlemen, not by any stretch of the imagination. I'm still learning it with you. But if we get engrossed in a negative thought process, just turn on the news and think about the feeling of a negative thought process. That feeling is being transmitted out. That's what we're sending out. Whatever we send out comes back tenfold. So if we're sending out this negative garbage, what comes back is negative garbage. It's the only way it could possibly work. Now, let's touch base on this thing called the law of attraction, which really is the secondary to the law of vibration. See, whatever frequency you are vibrating on is what you're sending out. That's all you could possibly receive. Oh, wow, Tim. Yeah, it's truly that simple. So if I want to receive the good that I truly desire in my life, then the dominating thought process has to set up the frequency of vibration to be sent out. Otherwise, I cannot possibly attract what happens to be on that frequency of vibration. Now, let's take this to one step further. And let's understand how that our sound travels through the air without the aid of wires. It's doing it right now. Chances are, if you're listening to this, you are not hooked up to a wired device. It's a wireless device. How are you receiving the sound of the words? How are you receiving that? How are you picking that up? And what's the transmitter doing to that frequency of vibration so I can pick it up? Well, this, once again, it's a very simple concept. Ladies and gentlemen, there's nothing hard about this. Remember, I quit school in the 8th grade. I did not even graduate the 8th grade. And if I can grasp an understanding of this, I know you can too. I mean, I'm no rocket science by any stretch of the imagination. So, when it's being transmitted out, so if I'm talking into a microphone that is being transmitted out on the radio station 102.7, that transmitter takes the vibration of my voice. We know that sound has a vibration, and it's amplifying that vibration by millions of times. So it's vibrating at a much higher rate. That is the only way the sound can travel through the air without the aid of wires. Then, when it gets to the receiving set, the receiver calms that vibration back down to where the human ear can pick it up. Now, you really have to use your imagination to even grasp a little bit of what's actually taking place from me speaking here into this particular microphone and you actually listening to it maybe in Australia or Kuala Lumpur or Singapore or everywhere. People in Japan listen to this. People in Ireland. They're all over the world were listening to this. So what's happening is the transmitter is stepping up that rate of vibration, and then the receiver is stepping the rate back down to where the human ear can understand it. So your brain, this chapter, you have a broadcasting and a receiving set. You have it. It's yours. All we have to do is learn how to use it constructively, because remember, it is being used, it is being utilized. We are constantly sending out, we are constantly receiving. That never slows, it doesn't stop. The only thing we want to make sure that we are aware of, according to everything that Napoleon Hill has taught us in this book, you and I are in control of the frequency of vibration that we send out. You and I have absolute control over the frequency of vibration that we live on. Now, once again, that doesn't mean that we actually exercise this control. And as he said in chapter 4, in a great majority of instances, we do not exercise this control. And that's why so many people live their lives not to their liking. They want more of this, they want more of that, better relationships, more money, more freedom, whatever that may mean to you. So this chapter really is not a difficult chapter to understand. You and I have a brain. We have a broadcasting and a receiving machine. That's what it is. Now, are we going to grab control of what we're sending out? Or are we going to continue sending out from the default setting, from the old conditioning of the past? Or do we grab control of it? Ladies and gentlemen, that's a fair question. That's what Napoleon Hill has been teaching us to do. Control the frequency of vibration. Because it is being sent out. That frequency is constantly being sent out. As always, we want to thank Joe. Joe, we would greatly appreciate all that you have done for us. Without you, we wouldn't be here. And everybody around the world is thanking you, my friend. Also, one of our greatest desires is that this day be the very best day you have ever experienced in this game we call life. Yesterday doesn't matter. Tomorrow isn't here. However, today, right now, you can make a decision to allow this to be the best day you have ever experienced. And that's up to you. Tonight, when you put your head on a pillow, please do so with a mind full of peace. Remember, calmness of mind is one of the beautiful jewels of wisdom. And may God bless each and every one of you. Have a fabulous day.